The United Nations space station floated silently above Earth, surrounded by stars and the glow of planet light. Today was no ordinary day. History was being made. For the first time, humanity was hosting an official visit from the Valari Empire. They were not like other alien species Earth had seen before. These visitors were tall, elegant, and impossibly beautiful. Their skin shined like polished silver. Their eyes reflected starlight. And they were all women. They stepped off their sleek silver ship, wearing glowing robes that moved like water. Every human in the room fell silent as the Valari walked past. It was like watching goddesses enter a temple. Commander Liam Carter stood near the welcome table, calm and steady. He had trained for this moment for years, but even he had to admit, the Valari were overwhelming. Elia, the lead ambassador, stood at the front. Her voice was soft, but full of command. "We thank you for your invitation," she said, scanning the room with curiosity and a hint of judgment. "We are eager to learn what your species considers ... valuable." Liam smiled and nodded politely. "Then, allow us to show you something truly special, a gift from humanity." Elia raised a silver eyebrow. "Gold, crystals, starship tech." Liam stepped aside, and with a wave of his hand, a group of chefs rolled in the presentation. Not gold, not crystals, but food. Table after table was filled with steaming plates, spaghetti dripping with tomato sauce, fried chicken, crispy and golden, soft slices of cheesecake, topped with strawberries, and at the center of it all, fresh, hot pizza. The smell of melted cheese, garlic, and herbs filled the air. The room buzzed with silent tension. Elia stepped closer. She picked up a slice of pizza, holding it carefully, almost like it was dangerous. Then she laughed, a sharp, mocking laugh that echoed through the hall. "This is your gift?" she asked. "This greasy thing?" Another Valari girl leaned in, sniffed it, and gagged. "Is it safe? It smells like burnt animal fat." The third one flicked a finger toward the cheesecake. "This one is soft. It wobbles. Is it spoiled?" The Valari girls laughed again. They covered their mouths like they were being polite. But it was clear, they were disgusted. Many of the human delegates looked embarrassed. Some looked angry. One even muttered under his breath, "Should have gone with tech." But Liam remained still, unbothered. He simply folded his arms and watched. Elia turned to him. "Do you really think this is impressive, Commander?" Liam smiled. Not forced, not nervous, just calm. "I do." She narrowed her eyes. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Completely." Elia rolled her eyes and turned away. "Your culture is strange. Food is not a gift. It's a necessity, an afterthought." Liam stayed silent. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. He simply let them talk. The Valari girls lost interest quickly. They wandered around the station, examining screens, asking questions about Earth's defense systems and travel capabilities. Boredom set in. One girl yawned. Another sat down and tapped endlessly on her translator bracelet. Elia, still holding the untouched slice of pizza, looked around. No one was watching. She turned the slice in her hand. The melted cheese stretched slightly. Her nose caught the scent again. Something inside her twitched, just one bite. Just to understand the human obsession. She brought the slice to her lips, bit down, and froze. Her eyes widened. Her breath stopped. The room seemed to spin. She blinked slowly, then took another bite, bigger, deeper. Her fingers tightened around the crust. Her body trembled. She had never tasted anything like it. The heat, the salt, the soft bread, the melted cheese, the tiny crunch of the crust. It was warm. It was rich. It was alive. "What is this?" she whispered. Liam, still watching from the corner, stepped forward. "It's called pizza," he said softly. Elia stared at him. Her voice was shaking. Double quotes, "No, this is not food. This is something else. She took a deep breath and whispered, barely loud enough for others to hear. What is this? Magic. The room fell silent again. The other Valari girls turned to her, confused. One of them asked, Elia, are you all right? But Elia didn't answer. She was already reaching for another slice, and Liam, he just smiled, because he knew, he always knew. The first bite changes everything. The halls of the UN space station were quiet at night. Most humans were asleep. Only the soft hum of ventilation and distant footsteps echoed in the steel corridors. But one door slid open slowly, silent, careful. It was Elia, the Valari ambassador, royal daughter of the High Matron, future voice of an empire now. Just a girl who couldn't stop thinking about a strange human food. She moved like a shadow through the halls, her silver cloak pulled tight. Her long hair was tied back. She avoided the cameras, avoided her own guards. She didn't know why. She only knew she needed it. Again, pizza, she hated the word. It sounded childish, weak, yet her heart raced as she followed the scent through the station like a predator. And then she found him, Commander Liam Carter, sitting alone in the dim light of the mess hall. Legs stretched out, one boot resting on the other. In his hand, a single slice. Steam rising. Cheese stretching. He noticed. Her gave her a calm smile. Not surprised at all. I was wondering when you'd show up, he said. Ella stopped in the doorway, her face unreadable. She didn't move closer, but her voice was low, almost ashamed. I can't stop thinking about it. I know. What did you put in it? She asked. Flour, cheese, tomato sauce, salt, love. She frowned. That last one, is that a human chemical? Liam chuckled. It's what makes it taste better. He held out the slice. Elia walked toward him slowly. Her eyes locked on the food. She reached out and took it. No hesitation this time. She bit, closed her eyes, and let out a quiet moan. The sound surprised even her. Liam leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. It's not just the ingredients. It's the comfort, the warmth, the story behind it. Elia opened her eyes. What story? He shrugged. Some say pizza was born during hard times. Soldiers, workers, people who had nothing, but still wanted to create joy. She looked down at the crust in her hand. My people have never made food like this. We process everything. Pure nutrients. No taste, no feeling, and no memories. Liam added gently. She didn't reply, but she didn't need to. The silence between them grew soft, comfortable. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. If my mother knew I came here, she'd remove me from the delegation. She doesn't need to know, Liam said. Not yet. Elia looked at him, for the first time, not as a human, not as a lesser species, but as a man. He wasn't shiny like her kind, not graceful. His hands were rough. His face had lines, but his eyes were kind. She took another bite, slower, more thoughtful. Liam watched her. He saw her relax. Her shoulders dropped. The tension faded in that moment. Something shifted, not just hunger, something deeper, connection. She finished the slice and licked her fingers, then looked at him and asked quietly, Do you have more? Liam laughed. You're lucky. I saved a few. He opened a warm box beside him and slid it toward her. Elia smiled. Not the polite, diplomatic smile she used during public meetings, but a real one. Small, honest. She picked up another slice. And then another. Hours passed. They talked. Not about politics. Not about weapons. But about silly things. What Earth smells like after rain. What chocolate tastes like. Why humans fall in love through music. Elia listened, curious, lost at one point. She asked, Do humans always share food like this? Liam nodded. Food means trust. Sharing means we care. Her eyes softened. Then, thank you for trusting me. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her, quietly in that moment. Words weren't needed. But outside the mess hall, something else was happening too. Velari guards stood in the shadows. They had followed Elia, sensing something unusual. They heard laughter. They saw the pizza box. And they saw their ambassador sitting far, too close to a human male. Their eyes narrowed. One of them whispered, "We must report this to the High Matron." The other nodded. "She will not tolerate this weakness." Back inside, Elia leaned back in her chair, belly full, heart confused. "Liam?" she asked, her voice gentle. "Why didn't you tell me it would feel like this?" He smiled. "Because you had to taste it for yourself." She looked down at her empty plate, then at him. Something had changed. She would never be the same. The next morning, every Velari girl in her delegation demanded to know why Elia was glowing. She said nothing, but later that night, 5 of them followed her, and one whispered, "Where? Did you get it?" Elia turned slowly, smiled, and answered with 2 simple words, "Follow me." The following night, 5 Velari girls stood outside the human mess hall. They wore dark cloaks. Their glowing bracelets were dimmed. These were not guards, not warriors, not diplomats. They were daughters of an empire, and they were hungry for something forbidden. Elia stood before them, calm, poised, but inside, her heart raced. She knew this was dangerous, but the look in their eyes told her it was already too late to turn back. They had tasted the scent. Now, they wanted the truth. One of them, Sierra, whispered, "You promised." Another added, "You said we would understand once we tasted it." Elia nodded. "Follow me." She led them into the mess hall, quiet, careful. Liam had agreed to keep the room unlocked tonight. He had prepared a table, and on that table sat 4 boxers. Steam escaped from the sides. The smell filled the room. Melted cheese, garlic, pepperoni, mushrooms. The Velari girls stared like they had found treasure. "This is it?" one asked, stepping forward. Elia smiled. "Taste it. Just once. Then you'll understand." They picked up slices. Awkwardly at first. The texture was strange. The oil slicked their fingers. But when they bit in, gasps. One girl dropped her slice. Another clutched her chest. One sat down suddenly, her legs weak. Sierra blinked fast. "What is happening?" "To me," Elia whispered. "You're waking up." Within minutes, all 5 were devouring slice after slice, talking, laughing, and moaning with delight. Their silver eyes wide, their lips glistening with oil. "This flavor," one said, "it feels like home. But it's not our food," another replied. Elia shook her head. "No, it's more than food. It's emotion." They ate until their hands were stained with tomato sauce and their minds filled with warmth. And when Liam finally entered the room, carrying more pizza, the Velari girls stood up, alarmed, but Elia raised a hand. "It's all right. He's the one who gave it to me." Liam gave a small smile. "Welcome to the real first contact." They stared at him, unsure, curious, but they didn't run. One of them bowed slightly. "We thank you, human." Liam handed her another slice. "Call me Liam." And that night, something changed. Not in politics, not in technology, but in the hearts of 6 alien women who had never known pleasure from food or kindness from strangers. Over the next few days, the Velari girls became different. They smiled more. They whispered in corners. They disappeared during certain hours, only to return with flushed cheeks and glowing skin. They laughed loudly, carelessly. Their guards noticed. Their leaders noticed. Whispers began. Something was happening, but no one knew exactly what. One night, Elia stood with Liam on the top deck of the station. Earth hung below them, a soft blue light in the darkness. She turned to him. "They want it every day now." He nodded. It's not the food. It's the feeling. Something your people never let themselves have. She looked at him. Joy. He nodded. Silence fell between them. Then she asked softly, is this why humans love so deeply? Because of simple things. Liam turned toward her. We suffer more, but we feel more too. That's the cost of being human. She looked down at her hands. They still smelled like melted cheese and herbs. She smiled. I think I want to be more human. He moved closer, not touching, just enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence. You already are, he whispered. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the stars above them weren't the most beautiful thing in the galaxy. But not everyone was smiling deep inside the Valari. Command ship. A report was sent to the High Matron herself. Subject: emotional instability among diplomatic team. Cause: unknown human influence. Recommendation: immediate recall. The matron read the report in silence. Then she gave a cold command. Monitor them closely. If this corruption spreads, Earth will be cleansed. Back on the station, another Valari girl, one who hadn't yet tasted the pizza, watched from the shadows. She saw Elia and Liam laughing, saw her sisters sneaking into human rooms, saw the boxers, the smiles, the strange new joy. She frowned and activated her comlink high command. I have something you need to see. The Valari ship floated above the UN space station like a watchful shadow, inside its cold chambers. Ambassador Elias stared at her reflection in silence. Her silver skin still shimmered, but her eyes looked different, softer, brighter. She placed a hand on her chest. It wasn't pain, but it wasn't comfort either. It was something else, a pull, a fire, something she had no name for. Behind her, the chamber door hissed open. Her sister Ryla stepped inside. She looked tense. We received a warning from the matron. Hi. Command believes Earth food is corrupting us. Elia turned slowly. It's not corruption. Ryla frowned. Then what is it? Elia walked past her and stared out the window. Earth glowed beneath them. So full of color. So full of life. It's freedom, she said softly. Ryla's voice sharpened. They think you've gone too far. You've stopped attending strategy sessions. You smile too much. You ... laugh. Elia turned back, her voice steady. Is that a crime now? Ryla didn't answer. She couldn't, because she had tasted it too. The pizza, the chocolate, the warmth. And it changed her too, but she was afraid to say it. Later that night, Elia slipped away again, down through the docking halls, past the sleeping guards. Back to him, back to Liam. He was waiting for her in the garden dome. It was quiet, filled with earth plants, flowers, and small glowing lights that mimicked stars. She stepped into the soft light. He looked up, smiled. I was starting to think you weren't coming, he said. Elia walked closer. I shouldn't be here, but you are. She nodded. Yes, I am. He stood up and handed her something wrapped in a cloth. She opened it slowly. A slice of pizza. Still warm, her lips curved. She sat beside him on the bench, took a bite. The taste was the same, but her heart, WASN single quotes, to with each chew. Memories rushed in. The first night she tried it, the laughter of her sisters, the way Liam looked at her, not as an alien, not as a diplomat, but as someone real. Liam, she whispered, you've done something to me. He turned toward her. No, I haven't. You've just finally tasted life. She looked into his eyes, so human, so honest, so inviting. I don't want to go back to who I was. Then don't, he said gently. Be who you are now. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. Their fingers laced. Together it was the first time in her life she had touched someone without duty, without command. Only choice, only feeling. He leaned in slowly. So did she. Their lips met, soft, warm. True. It was not a kiss of passion. It was a kiss of peace, of understanding, of two souls reaching across galaxies and finding home. The moment ended, but the feeling stayed. Elia rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm scared," she admitted. "You should be." She laughed softly. "Not helping." He smiled. "I mean it, in a good way. Scared means it matters." She nodded. Then her comm bracelet blinked red. She checked the signal, urgent from the matron. She didn't open it. She didn't want the words inside to steal this moment. Liam saw the light on her wrist. "They know, don't they?" Elia nodded. "Yes." "What will they do?" She stood up. Her voice was quiet. "They will come. They will threaten. They will punish." Liam stood too. "And you?" "I don't know." He stepped closer. "Then stay. With us. With me." Her eyes filled with something heavy. "I can't decide that tonight." "Then decide tomorrow," he said. "But until then, I'll be right here." The next morning, the Valari High Command ship entered orbit, massive, silent, watching. A message was sent. "Ambassador Elia is to return to Valari immediately. All contact with Earth food is now forbidden. Failure to comply would result in diplomatic withdrawal." The station fell into chaos. Humans argued. Valari leaders shouted. Soldiers from both sides moved into position. But Elia said nothing. She sat alone in her quarters, holding the empty cloth where the pizza had once been. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "I won't go back. I've tasted more than food. I've tasted freedom. I've tasted love." A guard stepped into her chamber. "Elia, orders have been given. You leave at sunrise." Elia looked at the stars outside her window and answered, "Then I won't wait for sunrise." The sky outside the station was filled with silence, but inside, pressure was rising. The Valari High Command had made their message clear. All ambassadors were ordered to return immediately. Contact with humans was to be minimized, and Earth food was now classified as a dangerous influence. The punishment for disobedience, exile, or worse. Elia stood at the center of her chambers. Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled. She had seen fear before, in war, in politics. But this was different. This was personal. Her sisters begged her to reconsider. "Elia, please," Ryla said. "Just go home. Just say it was a mistake," Sarah added. "They'll forgive you if you stop now, if you cut ties with him." But Elia said nothing, because the moment she stopped speaking to Liam, she felt hollow, lost. She missed the sound of his laugh, the calm in his voice, the way he listened without judgment. But most of all, she missed how he made her feel human. That night, she walked one last time to the human mess hall. It was empty, quiet. Liam was packing up his things. He looked up. Their eyes met. No words needed. But she spoke anyway. "They're sending me home. I don't have a choice." Liam nodded. "I know." She stepped closer. Her voice cracked. "They're taking me away, not just from Earth, from myself." He held her hands, firm, steady. "Elia, don't let them take that." Tears welled in her eyes. She had never cried before. Valari were trained not to, but she was already different now. Broken, maybe, but real. "I don't want to forget this, any of it." "You won't," he whispered. "I'll remember for both of us." She leaned into his chest. He wrapped his arms around her, tight, safe, warm. The moment stretched. Time stood still, but time always moves forward. And the next morning, Elia was gone. The Valari shuttle left the station in silence. No farewell, no message, just cold air and long shadows. Liam stood at the viewing deck, watching her ship disappear. He held a box in his hands. Inside, a single slice of pizza, wrapped gently in cloth, untouched. Back on Valari Prime, Elia faced judgment, stripped of rank, locked in isolation. No visitors, no communication. Her name was erased from council records. her only crime. Tasting the forbidden, they gave her pills flavorless gray, tasteless food, designed for function, not feeling, but Alaya refused them. She sat in silence. She stared at the stars, and she remembered every bite, every laugh, every moment with him. In her mind, his voice still echoed. You've tasted more than food. You've tasted love. On Earth, things weren't better. Liam was removed from his position. The food exchange program was shut down. The cultural bridge between species was cut. He tried to speak to diplomats, to leaders. No one listened. He returned home, back to a quiet town, back to a small pizza shop his father once owned. There, he cooked, alone, day after day. Not for profit, for memory. He made the same pizza he had served her, and every time he did, he wondered, was she thinking of him too? Months passed. The world forgot, but Liam didn't, and neither did Alaya. Her sister Zoes, who had also tasted the food, remained silent, but their eyes told the truth. Something had awakened inside them too. Late one night, Alaya sat on the cold floor of her chamber. A guard slid in a tray, another bland meal. She didn't touch it. Instead, she opened a small hidden compartment behind her bed. Inside was a folded napkin, stained with oil, with cheese, with memory. She pressed it to her face and whispered Liam. The ground shook. Alarms blared. Her door burst open. Sira and Ryla stood there, armed and breathless. We're breaking you out, Ryla said. You don't belong here, Sira added. You belong where you felt alive. Elia stood slowly. Her heart raced, and for the first time in months, she smiled. Then let's go home. The halls of Valari High Command burned red with warning lights. Sirens echoed through every corridor. Guards shouted. Doors sealed. Panic spread like fire. But Alaya didn't stop running. Her silver robes trailed behind her, torn and stained. Her breath came fast. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Beside her, Ryla barked orders. Turn left, down to the hangar. Behind them, Sira held a stolen blaster, covering their retreat. Go, I'll hold them off. Elia hesitated. Sira. No, but Sira pushed her forward. Go to him, Elia, go now. With one final glance, Elia turned and ran. Her feet hit the steel floor like a heartbeat. She had one goal, one place in the universe that still felt like hope, Earth and Liam, in the deep night sky, above the quiet town. A shooting star streaked across the clouds, except it wasn't a star, it was a ship, small, fast, damaged. It tore through the atmosphere, flames trailing behind it, engines screaming. Then silence. A distant crash echoed through the valley. Windows shook, alarms blared. People ran into the streets. But one man didn't wait. Liam dropped the pizza box he had been carrying and sprinted. His heart already knew. The crash site was just outside town. Trees burned, dirt smoked, metal twisted in every direction. Liam pushed through the wreckage, coughing, eyes scanning wildly. Alaya, nothing, then movement. A broken hatch opened with a hiss. A figure climbed out, limping, covered in ash and blood. It was her. She was breathing hard, hair loose, face bruised, but her eyes still silver, still shining. Liam ran to her and caught her in his arms before she collapsed. Elia, you're here. She smiled weakly. Took me long enough. You're hurt. I've been worse. He laughed softly. I was starting to think I dreamed you. She touched his cheek. No dream could ever taste like your pizza. He laughed again. But this time, his eyes were wet. Back in town, Liam took her to the shop. He laid her down gently on the old leather bench. She looked around, breathing in the scent of melted cheese and fresh dough. It still smells the same, she whispered. I never changed the recipe. I'm glad. She sat up slowly, looked at him. Her voice was soft, fragile. Everything they taught me was about strength, about power, about fear. Liam sat across from her, and now, she took a long breath. Now I know the strongest thing I've ever felt was the way you looked at me, like I was already enough. He didn't speak, he just reached for her. Hand out, she took it, fingers locking, hearts steady. Outside, sirens howled again, but not from Earth, from space. Valari warships entered orbit, slow and cold. The message came fast. Return the fugitive ambassador, or face consequences. Governments panicked. News broke across the planet. Alien warships above Earth. Former Valari ambassador hiding on Earth. Galactic conflict begins with pizza. People were confused, angry, afraid, but Liam stood tall, and beside him stood Elaya. No longer hiding, no longer afraid. They stepped into the camera's view. A live broadcast, seen across planets. Liam stood at the counter of his small shop. Behind him, a table set for two. He placed a hot pizza in the center. This is the food they called poison, he said. The food that changed their hearts. Elia stepped forward. This is not just food, she said. It is feeling. It is warmth. It is the first thing that ever made me feel alive. She looked into the camera. I am not running anymore. I am choosing. I choose Earth. I choose joy. I choose love. The broadcast ended. The world watched and waited on the Valari command ship. The High Matron stared at the screen. She was silent until one of her aides whispered, "They single quotes, not enemies. They're just living." Another added, "They're choosing to feel." The matron closed her eyes. She remembered her own youth, before command, before cold meals and silent rooms. She opened her eyes and gave the order, "Stand down." That night, as the warships slowly pulled back into the stars, Earth sighed in relief. But inside the small pizza shop, Liam and Elia stood alone. She held a fresh slice, and with a playful smile, she whispered, "Next time, I'm the one cooking." Liam raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" She leaned in close. "We'll make it together." The world had never seen anything like it. Not war, not peace, but something far more unexpected. A love story, wrapped in cheese, sealed in crust, and broadcast across galaxies, across human cities, alien outposts, and deep space colonies. People were talking, watching, wondering. All because of a runaway ambassador and a human man with flour on his shirt. Elia stood at the edge of the rooftop, staring at the stars. Her silver skin glowed softly in the moonlight. The wind caught her hair, sending strands across her face. Liam stepped beside her, holding 2 cups of soda. He handed her one. She took it, smiling. They stood in silence, watching the sky. Above them, a dozen smaller ships floated in low orbit. Not warships, not scouts, but transport vessels, media ships, diplomats. All waiting, because something incredible was about to happen. The Galactic Union had responded to Elia's message, not with threats, but with curiosity. They wanted to see what had made the Valari ambassador abandon protocol. What made her sisters laugh like children? What made soldiers sneak out of barracks just to taste something hot and cheesy? And so, Earth prepared for the first ever Taste of Humanity event, an interstellar gathering. No politics, no lectures, just food and feelings in a wide open field near Liam's hometown. A stage was built. Tents rose, lights blinked, music played. Humans and aliens stood side by side, staring at one thing, a long table filled with Earth's most beloved dishes. Pizza, tacos, mac and cheese, donuts, apple pie, and in the center of it all, Elia and Liam, wearing aprons, covered in sauce, smiling like fools in love. The broadcast began. Cameras floated in the air. Microphones translated every word. Elia stood before the galaxy. She looked nervous. Liam reached for her hand. She took it and breathed. "My name is Elia," she said, "and I was trained to lead through silence. strength, and fear. She paused, but none of those things ever made me feel alive. She looked at Liam, until I met a human who offered me a slice of pizza, and a place in his heart. She turned back to the crowd. You came for answers, but there is no secret. Just a simple truth. She lifted a slice into the air. This is more than food. This is care, choice, culture. She took a bite. The crowd cheered. One by one, aliens stepped forward. Some hesitant, some eager. A three-eyed diplomat from Zura tried a cheeseburger and began to cry. A tall insectoid creature from Denkari bit into chocolate cake and fell silent for 5 full minutes. A robotic intelligence scanned a tray of fries, then whispered, I understand now. Laughter, clapping, hugs. Even the most stoic Valari warriors couldn't resist the smell of melted cheese. They lined up quietly, waiting, hungry. Hours passed. No one argued, no one fought. They just ate, and talked, and smiled. For the first time in history, peace wasn't negotiated. It was shared, slice by slice, bite by bite. As the event ended, Liam stood with Elia, under the fading lights. You did it, he said. She leaned her head against his shoulder. No, she whispered. We did. He looked at her. You sure you want to stay on Earth? She laughed softly. Are you kidding? I haven't even tried garlic bread yet. He laughed too, then grew quiet. Do you miss your people? She looked up at the stars. Yes, but maybe they'll come visit next time. She turned to him. And when they do, we'll be ready. Oven hot, hearts open. The camera zoomed out. Across the galaxy, screens went dark, but hearts stayed warm. Because in a cold universe, full of power and pride, someone had shown that peace wasn't a treaty. It was a table, with chairs for everyone, and pizza in the middle. They mocked our food, but they fell in love with our flavor, and stayed for our hearts.